Hello everyone, in this video we will talk about the depression, why it happens and how to heal through the lens of Carl Jung. There are wounds that don't bleed but they ache in silence. There are nights that stretch endlessly and days that feel like fog. There are people walking among us, smiling, working, talking, yet inside they are slowly falling apart. This is the quiet pain of depression. It doesn't always scream. Sometimes it whispers until you no longer hear your own self. Depression is one of the most misunderstood and underestimated illnesses in modern life. More than just sadness or fatigue, it is a profound psychological crisis that affects how we feel, think, and live. And according to the Swiss psychiatrist Carl Gustav Jung, depression is not just a malfunction of the mind, it is also the message from the soul. This video will explore why depression happens, what it means through Jung's perspective, and how healing is not just about getting better, but about becoming more whole. First, what is depression? Let's begin by understanding what depression really is and what it's not. Depression is not simple being sad. It is a clinical condition recognized by symptoms like persistent sadness or emptiness, loss of interest in one's love activities, fatigue or lack of energy, difficulty sleeping or sleeping too much, changes in appetite or weight, feelings of worthlessness, guilt or hopelessness, trouble concentrating, thoughts of death or suicide. To those on the outside, a person with depression may appear lazy, moody, or distant, but inside they are fighting a constant battle just to stay afloat. As Carl Jung would say, the most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. Depression is often the result of a long and painful struggle with the parts of ourselves we rejected, buried, or misunderstood. Why do people become depressed? There are multiple layers to this question, and we will explore them in three parts: biological, psychological, and symbolic. First, the biological roots. Science tells us that depression is partly a result of the chemical imbalances in the brain, especially with neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine, which regulate mood, energy, and motivation. Hormonal changes, chronic illness, sleep deprivation, and genetic predispositions can all play a role. But even with all the medication in the world, people don't truly heal if deeper wounds of the soul are not addressed. The psychological roots. From a psychological perspective, depression can be caused by trauma, loss, abuse, neglect, unprocessed grief, or persistent stress. When life overwhelms us beyond our coping abilities, the mind may collapse into a depressive state. People who were taught to suppress their emotions, to be strong no matter what, or to always put others first, often struggle silently. They may not even realize they are depressed, but they just feel off, disconnected, or numb. This leads us to Carl Jung's profile insight. Depression is often a result of a disconnection from the self. The symbolic and spiritual roots. Carl Jung's view. Carl Jung believed that the psyche, mind and soul contains both conscious and unconscious parts. He said that depression arises when the unconscious, the parts of ourselves we ignore or repress, demands to be heard. Jung wrote, quote, "Depression is like a woman in black. If she turns up, don't shoo her away. Invite her in, offer her a seat, and listen to what she had to say." End quote. To Jung, depression isn't just a problem, it's a messenger. It says, something in you is dying, but something else is waiting to be born. It may be your own identity, a false role, or an ego structure that no longer serves you. Depression shows up when we are living too far from our authentic self, when we betray our soul by chasing external success, pleasing others, or ignoring our truth. In this way, depression can be a call to transformation. Depression as a dark night of a soul. The term dark night of a soul comes from a Christian mysticism, but Jung adapted to describe a psychological process. It's when everything we once believed about ourselves, our life, or our world falls apart, and we are forced to confront the void. Isn't empty. It's filled with shadows, fears, repressed emotions, and truths we run away from. Jung called this is the shadow, the part of ourselves we deny because it feels unacceptable, weak, or ugly. When we refuse to integrate the shadow, it doesn't disappear, it turns inward. That inward turn becomes depression. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Carl Jung. How to heal from depression? Healing from depression is not about snapping out of it or being more positive. It is a deep, slow, and often painful process. It is also one of the most meaningful journeys a person can take. Here are steps toward true healing, integrating both psychological science and Jung's wisdom. Acknowledge the pain. The first step is to stop running. Depression often grows stronger when we keep denying or minimizing our pain. Say to yourself, I'm not weak or feeling this way. My emotions are valid. This is not my fault. It is my responsibility to seek healing. The moment you stop pretending to be okay, you create space for real change. Seek professional help. Therapists, counselors, psychologists, or psychiatrists can also vital support. They help you explore your mind safely, uncover hidden patterns, and process emotions you might not be able to face alone. Sometimes medication is needed not as a cure but a stabilizer while you do the deeper work. Jung's analysts go further by helping you understand your dreams, symbols, and unconscious processes. They don't just help you feel better, but help you understand who you really are. Integrate the shadow. Instead of fighting against your darkness, listen to it. Ask, what part of me have I ignored or denied? Whose voice I am carrying that says I'm not enough? What am I really mourning? This is not easy. It may bring up buried drama or long forgotten memories, but this is where the gold lies. Jung say, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. True healing means turning toward your shadow with compassion. Create a new relationship with yourself. Depression often stems from self-rejection. Healing means learning to befriend yourself again, writing letters to your younger self, speaking kindly to yourself in the mirror, listening to your body and resting without guilt. Say no to things that drain your soul. This is about reparenting yourself, giving yourself a love, safety, and acceptance you may never have received. Restore daily rhythm and meaning. Depression disrupts your daily life. Rebuilding structure, even in small ways, can be healing. Wake up and sleep at the regular times. Eat nourishing food. Move your body gently, walking, stretching, yoga, spending time in nature. Limit social media. Do one small thing each day that brings a flicker of joy. Carl Jung believed that meaning is essential for healing. He say the list of things with a meaning is worth more in life than a greatest of things without it. Even simple ritual, lighting a candle, watering a plant, praying, can restore a sense of connection. Connect with others safely. Depression isolates. It makes you believe you alone, unlovable, or burdened. But this is a lie the shadow tells to keep you trapped. Reach out. One trusted friend or support group can make a difference. You don't need to be healed to be loved. You are already worthy as you are, even with the cracks. And if someone you know is depressed, don't try to fix them. Just sit with them in silence, hold their hand and say, I'm here, I care. That presence can be life-saving. What depression wants from you? From Carl Jung's point of view, depression is not just a condition to be cured. It is the invitation to grow. It asks, are you living someone else's life? Have you forgotten your dream? Have you buried your true feelings? What part of your soul is crying to be seen? Jung would argue that depression is often breakdown of the false self, the ego, the parts of you that wants to be accepted, admired, and in control begin to crack, and behind it, the true self begin to emerge. This self is not perfect, but it's whole. It contains both light and shadow. And once you begin this inner journey, you may find that depression was not your enemy, it was your guide. Final reflection. There is hope if you are reading this, or if you are in the middle of the depression. Please know you are not broken. You are not less than. You are in a place of deep transformation. You are in the cocoon. It is dark, tight, and unbearable, but it is also where the old self dies and the new self begins to form. The caterpillar doesn't know it will become a butterfly. It only knows it cannot go back. So be gentle with yourself. Rest, cry, reach out. Don't rush the process. Let depression teach you what it can to teach, and let it go when the lesson is done. Carl Jung say, I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Let that be your truth too. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the video. Please click here to find the Vietnamese version.